Welcome to the Erdnase triple cut, at least that's the name I remember it by. This is a nice little table false cut that will blend really nicely into any false table shuffles you're doing, any gambling demonstrations you're doing. Like I've been saying this month with these tutorials, these are gambling sleight of hand tutorials, but that doesn't mean you have to use them for gambling demonstrations. So the false cut is really simple. You're gonna start in this position that a lot of these false cuts start in, on the table, with the sort of horizontal makeup where you have kind of this like pinching pose in your hands on both sides. And you're gonna pull out the bottom packet with your dominant hand, and almost similar to like an up the ladder cut, you're gonna create a little bit of a step where it's not fully flush, but it's about right here. So my subordinate hand is still here under this packet. So remember, this is the top packet, this is the bottom packet, but I've just brought that bottom packet to the top. After I've done that, I'm gonna hold the now bottom packet underneath and I'm gonna cut it into two. So it's gonna be hard to see with this packet on top. So remember, we've brought the bottom packet up. It's here in a step pattern, but I'm gonna lay that to the side so you see what's happening underneath. This packet that's underneath gets cut into two. My subordinate hand is on the upper part of it. So that allows my dominant hand to come over and for this hand to then come over on top of it, but it happens quickly. So in motion, we have something like this. So we've brought that bottom packet up, we've placed it for the step, we then regrip so we have the bottom, and that now top packet will fall as we do that cut that I just explained. And then remember, this is the true top, so we just want to make sure this half goes down first. If you're enjoying this video, subscribe to the channel to become a part of the Hobbyist Magic Club. And if you want to dive even deeper, consider joining my free Patreon membership or picking up some merch from the store. A little clunky in slow motion, but in fast motion, you get something like that. This move is interesting to me because it's about as far as I'll go in a sleight of hand demonstration or magic trick without getting too fancy. There's times I like to show off, weird cuts and stuff like that. There's a whole brand of cardistry moves, but when it comes to a magic performance, I like to go for more boring looking procedures of cutting the deck because it's really not about that. You kind of want it to fade into the background and you want it to be convincing. And so for me, at least my philosophy is the more crazy a cut, the more suspicious it might be. Now, a lot of magicians and even myself in the past do like to use cardistry moves in order to supposedly demonstrate a shuffle sequence, but it's actually a false cut. I think that's drawing too much attention to the shuffle sequence. For me, what matters in that moment is that the audience is convinced that the card is lost. So I would just caution you to think about that. If you're doing a false cut that's really fancy looking for the purpose of losing the audience's card in the deck, you might want to reconsider that and do something a little simpler when it comes to losing the card. That's all to say, this looks just a little fancy. You know what I mean? Like you have this kind of dramatic moment in this drop and place down, but it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too fancy, too weird, or too technical. It just looks like you're a guy who knows how to cut the deck. So what could you do with this cut? Well, of course, like I said, you could just lose a card in the deck and go from there. But if you're doing it in a gambling demonstration, let's say you've just done a false table shuffle, and maybe you've also done an up the ladder cut, you can add this as kind of one extra cut so that they're really convinced the deck is shuffled. Then you can go on to demonstrate that you have a perfect royal flush or whatever it might be. But regardless, it does keep the whole stock of the deck, not just the top card or top group of cards. It keeps the whole deck in order. So if you also combine all those false shuffles with that, you can of course show that the deck is in new deck order at the end or in any order you want. You could separate the reds and the blacks, whatever you want to do. When it comes to getting comfortable practicing it, this is another one of those cuts that I think this is true for a lot of them actually. You might get caught accidentally still gripping this top part when you're trying to come out underneath it. And that's where practice will help you to really nail down where you're gripping the cards. You have to adjust your grip to come under this packet and not still be gripping it when you come out with this packet. You also don't want to accidentally be gripping this packet because you placed it too close to your subordinate hand. So those are all the moments where you can get caught. Another thing to really pay attention to is how you tilt your subordinate hand down, and this hand, really both hands, so that you lower that packet down and you can bring them all on top. But don't get too stressed about it looking a little messy if you're running into like this flopping in a weird place, because it is just a cut at the end of the day. And if there's a little bit of sloppiness, I think that communicates the idea of shuffle to your audience. So if the packets aren't perfectly clean, as long as you've retained the stocks that you need to and you have it in the order you want, it can look a little messy. It's no big deal. Remember, and I've been saying it for all these kind of more gambling sleight of hand tutorials, any sleight of hand move you learn is going to have this kind of interesting pathway of development where you go from understanding how it works. Like now you know the secret, you know where the packets go, and then you're going to start practicing and learning. And when you move up through that phase, you're going to reach this kind of frustration phase. And that can be where any sleight of hand move is a little discouraging because your brain knows what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like you just haven't told your hands, and your hands just haven't caught up to it yet. So don't be discouraged, but rather be encouraged. When you're in the frustration phase, that means you're close, or at least that you're getting closer every time you practice it. So move through the frustration phase with pride, knowing that sometimes people put things down during that frustration phase, but you're going to get to the other side of it where it finally clicks for you and you're able to do the move. That's all for today, guys. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more magic content. But until next time, stay a hobbyist at heart, keep enjoying your magic, be kind to yourself and others, and I'll see you guys in the next video.